Debate is raging around Governor Jerry Brown's sweeping proposal to change how school districts are funded as the governor pushes back against critics.
This is a cause. It's a cause for the children of California, and it's a cause for our own future.
In the wake of the Boston Marathon bombing, a call for more security cameras along San Francisco's Market Street, drawing concerns from civil liberties groups. And as the Keystone Pipeline through the Midwest generates controversy, a little-known oil project with a big impact on the West Coast could expand. Plus, are tougher ethics laws needed in San Francisco? An interview with City Attorney Dennis Herrera on a proposal to add sunshine to City Hall business.
I think that everybody wants some transparency so they know what's going on at City Hall.
Coming up next.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Scott Schaefer. Welcome to This Week in Northern California. Joining me now for the news panel are David Baker, energy reporter, Chuck Nevius, columnist, and Jill Tucker, education reporter, all from the San Francisco Chronicle. Well, Governor Jerry Brown has been pushing hard for his plan to increase funding for school districts with more low-income students and English learners. But state Democrats are challenging him with their own proposal. The governor threw down the gauntlet this week, using unusually strong language and calling it a civil rights issue.
Of California. Increasingly, the state is turning into a two-tier society. Those at the top are doing better and better, and those at the middle and at the bottom are doing worse and worse. The very least.
Jill Tucker, boil it down for us. What are the main points that the governor is proposing in this plan he's got?
So what the governor wants to do essentially is make a very complicated funding system much simpler. So instead of giving money to schools based on really old formulas that have nothing to do with the students they're teaching or what they need, he's saying, let's give everybody a base amount. It ranges from $6,300 to $7,200 depending on the grade level. And then on top of that, if you have low-income kids, English learners, or foster students, then you get more because those students are more difficult to teach. They have more issues. They need more time, more attention. And it is a fairly simple system on the face of it that says if you have these kids, this is how much money you're going to get.
And the thinking is that the extra money will be used for what? More teachers, more tutors, more what?
You know what? The benefit of this proposal, according to a lot of districts, is they get to decide. Under the current system of state funding, there are a lot of restrictions on how that money is spent. You know, I sort of equate it, if you want red carpet, you get the red carpet money, right? But otherwise, you don't get that money. And it is, but this plan, what the governor wants to do, he wants to put local control back in all school districts and let them decide, do they need more tutors? Do they need more teachers? Do they want smaller class sizes, or do they want more computers?
Doesn't that raise a red flag, though, with the idea that different districts all over the state will have all kinds of wildly different programs? Is that a good idea? Rather than to have something standardized?
Well, you know, for years we've been under the system that the federal government and the state government, the state legislature specifically, knows how to teach the kids of California, that they know what the best reforms are. So class size reduction. Everybody, if you want the money, you got to do class size reduction. And the school districts and the schools had very little say in how they taught the students or what they did with the money. And now we're swinging back the other way where we're saying, you know, we don't trust Sacramento to know what these school districts need. And a kid in Bakersfield who is a migrant student who needs to learn English perhaps is a very different student than a Chinese student in San Francisco.
And he is getting some pushback from Darrell Steinberg, among others, the state Senate pro tem. So what's their concern?
Right. So interestingly, you know, we have a supermajority in both houses in the state legislature, and he's getting pushback from his own party on this. What we're hearing is from the state Senate, they number one want to wait a little bit. They feel that this is rushed. They want to wait a year. They want more accountability in the system. But also on top of it, they want to see the money spread out more among the districts. They want all districts to get some more money because they're saying, look, there's low-income kids in all the districts, and the governor's plan gives even more money to districts that have a lot of low-income or minority English learner students. And so they want to spread the money out a little bit more, and the governor's saying, no, you're diluting the money, and he has put his foot down pretty loudly this week and said, bring it.
You gotta love him, don't you? I mean, he's got really nothing more to accomplish. He's perfectly willing to have a fight. What are his chances of pulling this off?
Well, he really is saying, I will fight until the bitter last day. And the legislature is saying, look, we can override your veto. You know, your party, as your party, we will override your veto. So it's kind of testy, actually, already, which is interesting. You know, that it's so early in the process. They've just started debating this, and they're already, you know, fighting.
Well, you know, if you're a suburban school district and you're looking at this new system, you may very legitimately worry, okay, I don't have as many kids in that category, as some of these other districts over here. Am I going to get shortchanged? I mean, is that a legitimate gripe, or are they still going to get basically the funding that they have now?
The governor's saying that nobody loses money. They're not going to lose any more money. You know, they get as much as they have now, basically, they're going to get. They're not losing money. But you will see some districts getting $3,000 more per student. And I think what they're saying is, wait a minute, we've had all these cuts. You know, just because we have more advantaged students doesn't mean that we don't have needs.
So could you end up with sort of strange alliances here where you've got urban Democrats who support the plan and maybe rural Republicans who have more poor kids in their district, whereas you got the suburban Democrats, like say in Palo Alto or Moraga, wherever it might be? I mean, is that dynamic happening already?
It really is. So you had in the assembly, you had two legislators squaring off in one of the hearings that they had over this, where you had an Oxnard, Montecito legislator saying, this is great because a lot of my poor districts will, you know, get more money, and then you had the San Ramon legislator saying, this is not good for my district. And so they're very much looking, how is this affecting my schools? And you're seeing them battling it out.
And then just quickly, we've got the May revise coming up. And all this is part of the budget, right? So and he's going to come out with a more revised plan in, what, a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, he basically hasn't tipped his hand how much he's going to change what he has initially proposed. Their thinking is that there may be some tinkering with it. But I don't expect to see a major revise on this plan when he comes out with his May numbers.
Interesting. First big fight between Jerry and his own party. It's going to be very interesting to see how that works out. Thanks, Jill. Well, the Boston Marathon bombing investigation has demonstrated the critical role technology can play in quickly tracking down suspects. From individual cell phones to private security cameras, there was no shortage of images and footage for law enforcement to pore over. Well, now San Francisco Police Chief Greg Suhr wants to beef up surveillance along one of the city's major thoroughfares, Market Street. And not everyone is happy with that. Chuck Nevius, what's the problem? What's the debate about?
Well, this will be interesting to see how this plays out because, as we know, there's been a great change in surveillance and cameras. Cameras have independently, sort of in a grassroots way, come up in front of stores and storefronts and liquor stores and those kinds of things. And those have been really useful. And I think most people are fine with that. But every time someone like a law enforcement officer proposes a sweeping, larger style of camera, we get some pushback.
And the difference is what?
Well, the difference is it's kind of haphazard. We're trying to get, the police department is trying to get businesses to put cameras in front of out on the street. And there was a push at one point to have anyone that sold liquor be required to install a video camera in the front of their business. There was pushback on that. But the fact is the majority of those businesses do have them because it's safe. It helps them. It makes them feel better about it. So it's between being mandated and having it happen independently.
But it's also, the civil liberties people, I mean, it's also, they have issues with it because it's a before-after thing, right? So the cameras that they have now at the liquor stores and what they used in the Boston bombing, they were looking at them after the fact and reviewing them. You know, we have cameras in schools where they, if they see graffiti, they review the camera to see who did it. But what he's proposing are these cameras that during the Beta Breakers, during the Chinese New Year parade, during the Giants cross our fingers, World Series parade in the future, we have cameras that we are monitoring live. We're not looking at it after the fact, but we're reviewing this, looking for people who might commit crimes. And I think the civil liberties people are saying that's taking it a step farther than saying we have cameras that we can review later.
Exactly. And that's what they have in Chicago, by the way. They have a manned camera system where they actually have someone who has a little, a little joystick, and he's zooming in and zooming out. They've established cameras in high crime areas. If they see a suspicious car, they zoom in on the license plate. And Gavin Newsom at the time and other people in San Francisco have said, that's Big Brother, we're not going to do that.
But they have a few of those cameras, right, in like Mission and 16th and some of the housing projects. So what happened to those? Yeah.
They haven't worked very well at all.
No,
well, they haven't really been even watching them, have they?
Well, no, it became such a debate in 2006. This is the thing that happened, is Newsom proposed these cameras, but it became such a civil liberties debate that they put so many restrictions on, they're virtually useless. They can't move, they're grainy, they have terrible stop action to the point where a car could actually go from here to here and not even be recorded. And you can't even access the tape unless a crime has already been committed and you know what you're looking for. And at that point, you have to put a thing. So those have been useless, but the cameras on businesses have been helpful.
And so is there a sense that these are supposed to prevent bad things from happening, or once bad things happen, you can catch people?
Yes.
Is that part of the problem?
That is part of the problem, but I think Jill's right. It's the here and now of it. And there was another factor that I hadn't thought of. Scott Wiener came out, this idea of putting cameras in front of liquor stores and clubs. And he said, even now, in today's world, there are people who live in the Castro who are not out. And they may very well be recorded going into a gay club. And who knows where that video goes from there?
There are no gay clubs on Market Street. Well, I guess there are in the upper market.
This was in
Mid-market,
in the Castro with the idea of putting cameras on the liquor store. But I mean, the point is there's ramifications, and you don't know how far it's going to go. And the amount of video that we got at Boston was terrific in one sense. On the other side, it was kind of terrifying.
But you know what? I will say this, that just after 9/11 and as it is this time, that it may be a very different debate because people are nervous. They saw what could happen, and you start hearing. You did interviews. We talked to people on the street, and they're like, I'm cool with the civil liberties thing as long as they're protecting us.
Right.
So fear changes the debate.
But it could go the other way as well, because we did have this incredible mass of video being generated within just a few hours of the bombing. Actually, not even hours. The first video I saw of the explosion itself was posted about 45 minutes after the incident.
But the really critical video was really from like Lord and Taylor, I think, from a retail.
But I mean, people may look at that and say, well, okay, clearly we've got a lot of this going on right now. Let's just leave it where it is and see how it works.
And two quick points. One is nobody has more trouble with bombings and so forth than England. England has surveillance cameras everywhere. And second, the bad thing about having that video available right away is they misidentified some suspects. Mm-hmm. And you've really got to watch that because you get way ahead of yourself, and that's a problem.
And then next week there'll be a hearing at the police commission to talk about this.
They're going to talk about it, and it's bound to be a charged issue.
Oh, yeah, always is. All right, thanks very much, Chuck. Well, the Keystone XL pipeline through the nation's heartland to the Gulf Coast of Texas has been roundly criticized by environmentalists. But another bigger pipeline project from Canada that would have a greater impact on the West Coast is getting very little attention. David Baker, tell us about that one. It's kind of under the radar. What is it, and why should we be thinking about it?
It's under the radar here. It is not under the radar in Canada, especially in British Columbia, where it's a pretty big issue. It's a pipeline called Trans Mountain, and it's actually pretty old, about 60 years. It's been there. It goes from Edmonton, northern Alberta, across a couple of mountain ranges through some forests, and ends up in the outskirts of Vancouver, where there's a terminal for loading the oil onto ships. The owners of it want to triple the capacity of this pipeline. It can currently carry about 300,000 barrels of oil or other products per day. They want to get it up to 890,000. Keystone, if that extension is built, is going to be 830,000. So this would be a bit bigger.
But unlike Keystone, there wouldn't be any additional pipelines through the United States.
No, there wouldn't, and that changes the political dynamics of it quite a bit. The proposal right now is for the company to install a second set of pipes right next to the first one for almost the entire route. They'd sit in the same right-of-way and basically go through the same communities. There is right now a little spur off that pipeline that crosses over the U.S. border and goes to the refineries in Washington state. But the company that's proposing this, being smart, has decided not to add anything to that little spur. So the U.S. government has absolutely no say in this project. The environmentalists here can't put any pressure on Obama because Obama can't do anything about the line.
But that oil is dirty. oil relatively, so would that in any way limit how much of it can come into California to a refinery?
Possibly. The oil that's coming through there's actually several different products coming through that line. A lot of it is stuff called dilbit. It's diluted bitumen, and bitumen is essentially a very thick, tarry substance. It's a hydrocarbon very similar to oil. It's what you find in the oil sands of northern Alberta. And to get it to move through a pipeline, you actually have to heat it up and dilute it with something else much lighter to get it to flow. And so that stuff basically behaves a bit differently if it spills than regular old oil will. Now, in terms of coming into the state, some of it already does. We get about 2.4% of our oil in California from that pipeline. But we do have a law on the books now, regulation on the books, that is going to force refineries to cut the carbon intensity of the fuels they sell here in the state. And they're probably going to have to do that by blending in things like biofuels into what they sell. If they get more of this stuff from the tar sands, which is pretty greenhouse gas intensive, generates a lot of carbon, that could be a problem.
This tar sand thing was new to me, and it sounds like yucky stuff. But is that the future of oil? Is that what we're going to have to do? Is it fracking? Is it tar sand? Are we reached the point where we have to find other ways to deliver oil?
We passed that point several years ago, actually. I mean, if you look at the production in the United States, all the new production is coming from fracking, mostly in North Dakota and Texas. That's very light oil compared to this. On the other end this is the other end of the spectrum. This is very heavy stuff. You have to have special refineries to process it, and we have those here in the state.
Well, and it seems like, you know, it's in Canada, so we can kind of go, well, not in my backyard directly, but there are the concerns are the environmental concerns of the emissions, but also at the port where they're going to times 10 have the number of ships coming in to ship all of this oil that's flowing. And isn't the concern, I mean, the United States could be concerned about an oil spill so close to our northern border, right? With this yucky, dirty stuff, right?
The number of tankers that's expected to go through Vancouver's harbor is supposed to jump from about 5 to 34 per month, according to the company's own estimate. And that actually is affecting the politics in Canada. The party that's in the lead to basically take control of British Columbia next month's elections, they've already come out very strongly against another pipeline proposal, and just in the last week they've come out pretty strongly against this one too.
So where's the demand? Who wants the oil?
We here in California used to rely a lot on Alaska for our oil. They at one point supplied almost half of all the oil that we used in the state. If you look at oil production figures from Alaska, they are tanking. They're going down pretty badly. And we're down at the point now where it's like 12% of what we use.
Oil in Alaska?
The North Slope production is tapering off like it will in any oil field. So while the rest of the country, which is getting all this fracked oil from North Dakota and Texas, the rest of the country is becoming less dependent on oil imports. California is becoming more.
What about China?
China would be very interested in this, and this pipeline expansion, if it goes through, will give Canada's oil industry what it really, really wants, which is just an unimpeded conduit out onto the world market.
All right, well, thanks for putting a spotlight on it. We'll see if the environmentalists react now.
I think they will.
They will. All right, thanks, David. Well, there's an old saying that it's not what you know, it's who you know. And in San Francisco politics, that can translate into well-connected insiders quietly getting quick approval for pet projects without having to report their lobbying. Well, now San Francisco City Attorney Dennis Herrera is teaming up with Board of Supervisors President David Chu to strengthen city ethics rules and require more disclosure by lobbyists, permit expediters, and other City Hall power brokers. Earlier today, I talked with City Attorney Herrera about his proposal. City Attorney Herrera, good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Good to see you, Scott. My pleasure.
So, ethics. Why do we need these additional disclosure rules now?
I think what you find, San Francisco has always been a leader when it comes to sunshine, transparency, but you need differing laws for different times. And the laws that we have had on the books, based on the experience of Supervisor Chu and I, in this age, we determined that they needed updating.
So what's changed? Like, why now? Because some of these complaints have been around for a while about lawyers not disclosing and so on.
Yeah, I think because based on the shared experience and what you hear and what you see through experience since the last round of changes, you see that there are loopholes, that there are gaps, and that there are things that you can do to tighten them up, which is going to inspire confidence in the public about the integrity of their government. I think that everybody wants some transparency so they know what's going on at City Hall.
So whenever you hear we have to tighten up ethics and close the loopholes, you think, well, there's corruption then. Is that what's happening? Is there what exactly is it?
No, I don't think there's necessarily corruption, but there is certainly, you hear complaints from people when you're going around the city about a certain opaqueness and their belief that while people might not be violating the law, that there are some folks that have special access or inside access and anything that can inspire confidence in the public that, though, there is transparency, there is a full debate, you have an equal opportunity to do something. I think that's a good thing.
Is it fair to say that one of the big loopholes here that you want to close applies to attorneys who are not required and do not disclose when they're lobbying on behalf of a client?
Absolutely, that is one of the things that we've closed. If you look at the way the law was prior, it just said a lawyer who is ordinarily conducting business that a lawyer would, they didn't have to report. Now it's been tightened, so it's only lawyers that are involved in actual or potential litigation that don't have to report. So it will deal with lawyers in the other contexts.
Now, it's been widely reported that one of the attorneys who would have to disclose and register, presumably, is Willie Brown. Would you agree? Is he someone who would be affected by this?
He may or may not be. I don't know what Mayor Brown's practice is. He hasn't had to require to date, but he, as any other lawyer, myself, if I was out in private practice, if I was actually out lobbying city officials and it wasn't actual potential litigation, that lawyer would have to register irrespective of who they are. But these laws were not designed for any particular individual. It was really to look at the shared experience that we had here in San Francisco and also see what best practices are in place in other cities and jurisdictions to make sure we're doing the best we can to have transparency and openness.
Fair to say San Francisco is behind other places like, say, Los Angeles and San Diego?
In certain respects. Chicago, San Diego, Los Angeles, they have things that promote greater transparency when it comes to lobbying.
We have less transparency than Chicago?
We do. We do. Actually, the lawyer exception that you were just referring to comes out of Chicago. We learn from how Chicago does things. So there are things you learn from other jurisdictions, and those are things we were trying to implement as best practices here.
So one of the other issues is permit expediters, and these have been widely reported. People and the building inspections and the whole permit process is a mess in San Francisco. You don't have to talk to many people to find out people who have tried to do work on their home and they just get stuck in this morass of rules and delay. So why them? What is it about the work they do that you feel has to be more disclosed and more open?
I think that what you hear is something that we've all gone through. We see what happens when we all try and get a permit. We shouldn't have to have permit expediters to allow us to do work on our house. Any resident should be able to go down and get a permit they need to do an improvement on their house.
And in most places you can.
And in a lot of places you can. But there is a perception that you need a permit expediter, and a permit expediter has some special influence. So we have expanded the reporting and what has to be reported for permit expediters so people have some confidence. Permit
expediters, attorneys, Willie Brown. You and David Chu ran for mayor against Ed Lee, who of course is a big, being supported by Rose Pack and Willie Brown. So what would you say to someone who says this is payback by two guys who lost to Ed Lee? Nothing could be further from the truth. I can tell you, Mayor Lee, myself, others, we want to do whatever we can to inspire confidence in the public for what we all do at City Hall. These were things that are systemic, not directed at any individual, and David and I have been working on this for 8 to 10 months to come up with a comprehensive comprehensive scheme that everybody can be confident in. I want to ask you about another issue you've been involved in this past week, and that is alleged patient dumping by Nevada into California and other states. What's the status of that, and what are you hoping to get out of this investigation? Well, I think that everybody can agree, whether you're an elected official or not, that the conduct that we've read about with respect to a Nevada-based hospital is deplorable. No one should have to live in those conditions. So
I'm expecting from Nevada that within the next week or so they will respond to my first round of public records requests, and we'll be able to get some documentation and facts to see how many psychiatric patients were actually put on with a one-way ticket on a Greyhound bus here to San Francisco. And if I determine that there are city taxpayer dollars that were spent, we will seek retribution from Nevada.
And just quickly, they announced a change this week. They're going to have chaperones now on the buses. They're not going to be on by their own. Is that an admission of guilt, do you think, or is that enough?
Well, I think that what you've seen from the statements coming out of Nevada, from the governor himself, he admits that this was occurring, that people were disciplined. We'll get to the bottom of it and see what we're going to do next.
All right, City Attorney Dennis Herrera, thanks so much.
Thank you, Scott.
And this update, earlier today, federal authorities threatened to terminate the Medicare provider agreement of the Nevada hospital in question. That is all for tonight. Thank you all very much for being here. Have a great weekend. And you can visit kqed.org/thisweek to catch up on past episodes, to subscribe to our newsletter and podcast, and to share your thoughts and story ideas. I'm Scott Schaefer. I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for watching. Good night. Have a good weekend.